Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another book review. So it's time to talk about a book that is very intriguing, informative, controversial, enlightening, and absolutely dope. This book is an absolute classic. Anybody that knows the author of this book knows that they have a breadth of a bunch of different types of books along this same genre, and it takes you to really read one to truly start to understand others. But it's a classic, man. It's a classic. So without any further ado, let's talk about it. The book is called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Now, not to get the title confused, this book is not religious at all. This book is very much so spiritual, and it has a lot of real world applications still to this day. Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill was published in 2011, but it was filled with a lot of Napoleon's work over the past several decades. It's actually a book that was so controversial that it took it until 2011 to actually get published. This book is so long and filled with so many different nuggets of wisdom and gems of knowledge that I'm gonna definitely have to break this one down section by section over time. I believe this book also will provide a lot of useful information with the current climate that we're living in. We're currently still within a pandemic, and there's plenty of people that really need to hear certain messages that are in this book, and I'm gonna deliver those to you. This is part one. Chapter 1 talks about the pain of constant fear and how we can fall into certain paths of fear, and how we can fall into doubt, lethargy, or tiredness, and a consistent state of indecision. We have to remember that the enemy within us is greater than the enemy outside. If we have utmost belief in ourselves, then we have more faith within our own abilities, and we give the doubters less power over us. But if you don't believe in yourself and you don't have faith in your own abilities, then you actually will give the doubters absolute power over you in your life. So you have to remember that the enemy within is greater than the enemy outside. So you need to fight the enemy within first. Now, falling into doubt, fear, lethargy, or indecision is absolutely a constant feedback loop that will always be going on for you unless you do something about it. This fight or flight response will make you tired, and it will zap your energy. Your mind will think you're in a constant fight or flight situation, even though physically you're not. Your instincts will also begin to suffer, and you'll begin to respond to things in unwarranted ways. You'll either overreact to things or you'll underreact to things. This first chapter also talks about how you can be paralyzed by fear. Now, anyone that's ever been paralyzed by fear before knows exactly what it feels like. And the book talks about you have to actually feel it in your life in order to understand it and to be able to explain it. Have you ever been in a state of fear and indecision to the point where you're so overwhelmed and you're so overloaded to the point where you just decided to do nothing? Or even in doing this nothing, did you instead do something that pulled you backwards? If you have, then you have indeed been paralyzed by fear before. It's a very funny feeling. I've been there before, and I felt it and I understand it. And so that's why I appreciate the book even bringing this out, because it touches on a subject that we don't really talk about too much. And obviously that's fear. We all have fears. So it's just about determining and figuring out which ones are yours. Like what fears do you actually have? Depending on how self-aware you are, you might actually think you don't have fears when indeed you actually do. The next chapter really talks about how the mind gets what the mind focuses itself on attaining. So that really speaks to the fact of how you need to be mindful of the things that you say to yourself about yourself, the things that you say that you are or that you are not. If you believe you are generous, if you believe you are courageous, if you believe you are worthy, your mind will bring the physical equivalent of that in what you think. The devil warns in this book that you must be careful what thoughts you dwell upon. Now, a side note, in this book, Napoleon Hill actually does indeed interview the devil. And when we talk about the devil, we are talking about the force of evil in this world. So in this book, the devil places a warning, and the warning is that you must be careful what thoughts you dwell upon. The seeds of thought begin the process of setting in motion its physical equivalent. So to break this down is basically your thoughts become things. Now, to break negative thought patterns, it's going to work differently for different people. But what I've noticed that works for me is having a spiritual practice of meditation helps me to break negative thought patterns. Having a mind of gratitude helps me break negative thought patterns. And then simply doing something for someone else, just getting out of myself and doing something for someone else helps to break those negative thought patterns. You're trying to break down all of the things that are inside you that could be holding you back. You want to stop anything that's holding you back, and you want to refine yourself. Like eating healthy food increases the overall health of the body. Having clear, healthy thought patterns increases the overall health of the mind and will eliminate blocks and keep you on your path to greatness. There's several other nuggets that I got from chapter 3. One was the Mastermind Principle. And the Mastermind Principle is the harmonious alignment of two or more minds for the same common purpose. Although the lone mind may appear quite strong, it's actually quite weak. Only the harmonious alignment of two or more minds can bring out the potential in any single mind. So the term iron sharpens iron is an absolute fact of life, that you need the iron to sharpen you, or you're gonna walk around quite dull and think you're sharp. So Napoleon Hill talks about how one of the devil's tactics is to use your mind and to sow seeds of negative thought into your mind by using fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. These are all heavy, so let's unpack each one.